Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Talk Thursday. With us today is Budget Secretary Butch Abad. Earlier this month, President Benigno Aquino approved a 2.268 trillion budget for 2014. This is 13.1% higher than last year. If the budget is approved, three departments, education, infrastructure, and local government, will get the lion's share of it. Abad joins us to discuss the distribution of the government's budget. Thank you for coming and joining us, Butch.
It's something new, Maria.
This new budget, it's 13% higher, going to these three things. What's the idea behind it?
Well, it's focused at what we call inclusive growth and development. That's why the first thrust is really continuing the expansion of the or the growth of the economy, but focusing on very key targets like infrastructure development, tourism, and agriculture and fisheries development. But at the same time, we want to be able to emphasize more the inclusiveness of that growth by focusing heavily on social protection and social services. Social protection principally, the core program there is the CCT, or the Pantawid program, which has been expanded.
CCT has gotten a 42% increase. Right?
Yeah, well, it was about 39 billion this year.
Yes.
And it's going to go up to about 62 billion because we extended the program to cover high school students. And the other big social services investments are in basic education, which received the highest allocation, more than 337 billion. And then public health, which received the highest increase at 45%. This is a commitment after the passage of the sin tax reform law.
Yes.
And then, of course, housing, social housing program. So, but we are the other difference next year is that we have chosen industries and social services that focus on very specific sectors and geographical areas where the incidence of poverty is high, or the magnitude of poor households is high, so that truly you can achieve continuing expansion of the economy, but at the same time impacting on the problem of joblessness.
So it's really, I mean, the president has said it, inclusive growth, bringing people up, making sure the trickle-down factor happens. You're halfway through the 6-year term. How would you assess the way things have gone so far?
Well, you should see the economic indicators.
7.8% were the highest.
And
higher than
we expect that to continue to improve.
So the first quarter growth, you can see it pushing to the rest of the year. Do you expect that?
Yes, we are confident that we will surpass the 6 to 7% GDP growth that we've targeted for the year, if the first quarter is any indication of that.
What about on the political end? In the May elections, you fielded a coalition. Do you have enough time to be able to pass? Will this coalition work in the legislature to pass the priorities that you have?
Well, the political consensus that I think we will be able to build in the coming years will be much stronger than when we started, as evidenced by the results of the election. So we are even more confident of passing difficult but necessary reform measures in Congress with the stronger support that we can expect in this new Congress.
But if you look at the cycle again, it took the third year of this administration to pass the laws that needed to go through, right? So it just happened last December. That third year in this congressional cycle for the lawmakers will be 2016, very close to elections.
Right.
Do you have enough time to be able to do this before everyone goes off on their political agenda?
That's correct. That's why we have to hit the ground running here and do all of the pass all the difficult legislations like the reform of the cabotage law, for example, in this first year of Congress. So we are gearing up for that.
And so this means things like the Organic Act, your other priority legislation. Are you thinking this can be passed this year, or this year's too soon?
At least over the next 2 years, because we have actually 1.5 year window before people get excited about 2016. So,
1.5 years.
You know, we have a better system of coordinating with the coalition that we put together in both chambers of Congress. So I think we've learned from the passage of RH and the syntax laws how to go about these things. So we feel that we can even move faster this time.
What are the major? What's the major push now?
Well, we're looking at the reform of the cabotage law, the passage of the Organic Act, which is the commitment of the President.
Correct.
The rationalization of the fiscal incentives law, where we hope to introduce more transparency and rationality in the grant of fiscal incentives. The whistleblowers and the witness protection law, which is important for the anti-corruption campaign of the President. The rationalization of mining excise taxes. You know. So these are, but we don't have a long list. We opening up certain industries that have been close to foreign investment. So it's a short list that we hope about. I think 8 critical economic measures.
Fantastic. Bottom-up budgeting. This is something that this administration has tried to do against. Is it working in your assessment? Have you assessed it?
It's still early to make any conclusions about it, but it's certainly creating a lot of excitement on the ground, because the idea of bottom-up budgeting is really to promote genuine devolution, particularly in the way the government prepares its budget, especially the social services part of the budget. And you know, this is a people-powered administration. It came to power because of a popular draft, and I think in such a critical area as preparing the budget, we thought that it was a good idea to start a process where the budget preparation also can proceed from the ground, and so that people have a voice and a vote. Voice is usually generated by consultation, but vote, we'd like to see people participate in municipal council, city council, and provincial board meetings where they have a say in determining what goes into the budget that they will submit to the executive. And when we started out, we just targeted about close to 600 municipalities and about a budget of about 8 billion. Next year, we hope to be able to cover more than 1,200 municipalities and cities with a budget of about 20 billion pesos. We did a survey, Maria, of this exercise because we learned about it in Brazil, but Brazil does it on the state level, and I think right now we're the only country so far that does it on a national level. It's a bit hard, but I think the response that we've been getting from municipal mayors, city mayors, and the communities on the ground has been very good.
Fantastic. And how much of it, CSO, civil society organization, do you have involvement from them? How much involvement have you had?
In fact, that's the most critical part of this process, because this needs a lot of community facilitation, and you know, government is not good at that, and local governments are not exactly used to that. So we will have to rely a lot on community mobilization and organizing skills of CSOs and community organizations. So that's the part where this process becomes really critical if we want to make it a meaningful exercise.
In the next 2 years, do you see a way to jumpstart this, or is there enough of momentum?
We want to expand it, not only in terms of more municipalities covered, but the level by which this process takes place. So right now it's in the municipal and small city level. we'd like to bring it up to a provincial level and eventually to a regional level and cover more of the basic services program of the government. This is really, a democratic project to promote genuine devolution, which unfortunately, despite the long passage of the local government code and the providing a share of about 40% of the national internal revenues to LGUs, has not really, come about in the manner that truly empowers not just the local governments but the communities especially. So we hope to be able to scale it up so that this whole exercise of we have these RDCs,
Yes.
PDCs,
Yes.
and municipal development councils. They exist formally, but in terms of a real process that's going on, that's hardly the case. So we want to be able to jumpstart those institutions and make them effective and working institutions, and we hope that this process will help bring that about.
Fantastic. Let me go to the State of the Nation address.
Okay.
The president was displeased with certain agencies. He made it known. Customs was one of the ones. Who was he talking about? I mean, what was this about, and did he get the response he wanted?
Well, this is about frustration. Frustration about the inability of certain offices to go along with the reform initiatives that he has taken.
Yes.
For example, the promotion of rule of law and anti-corruption campaign.
Yes.
And there are many institutions that have actually gone through a process of institution building and promoting a greater credibility, in their services. But there are other institutions that have not managed to move along, and he identified some of them.
Yes.
And of course, symbolic of the problem with corruption has the Bureau of Customs has become like the poster institution for that, and so the displeasure that he expressed, and I think you're going to see actions in the following
Was this a
weeks.
calibrated move or just a sense of frustration? Did he want specific action from people? Was he talking about
Well,
specific
it's
people?
really to signal to the country that you're going to see changes, and I think there's a lot of work on the ground that has happened, mostly in terms of understanding the nature of the problem, who are the key personalities, the key offices there that are involved. And I think the oversight agencies and some of those that are going to help out introduce or initiate the reforms more or less have recommendations for the president to act on.
Several customs officials have offered their resignation, including Rufy Biazon. And he's gone as far as to say that there are politicians who are involved in this. May pinapatamaan ba si Presidente?
Well, we'll see. You'll see soon, what happens there. I don't want to preempt what they are going to do, but I think the president has already put his neck on the line there, in a manner of speaking, by saying that you can expect changes in these areas too. But I don't think it will be limited to 3 offices. It's really it's also a declaration to the whole bureaucracy that we have to shape up, because we only have 3 years left, and there's so much that needs to be done.
That'll be exciting. The last time he did this, we had an impeachment of a Supreme Court Chief Justice. Do you remember this one before?
Yeah.
Well,
he's a kind of president that he will not say something that he will not do, or he will not put his signature on a document that he will not do. So I think they should get that message.
This is also the first president since 1986 who hasn't had a cabinet revamp in the first year. His mom was the first president after Marcos, and then every other president has had a cabinet revamp. Do we expect a cabinet revamp? Any changes coming up in the horizon?
Well, that's something for the president to to decide on. But so far, I've worked in past administrations, but this has really been one of the most cohesive, both in terms of vision as well as working ethics. This has been one of the most cohesive group of cabinet people that I've worked with, and the president's style is very different from past presidents in the sense that every week he meets clusters, groups of cabinet people to work on very specific issues and concerns. It's a lot of problem-solving sessions.
Fantastic. I'm going to jump again to another burning issue now, which is the pork barrel scam. This is from Edsela. At Edsela 2004, is DBM doing an inquiry on pork barrel? And then let me throw in a question. Right now, we've been focused on the senators who, part of the allegation is that they get a kickback from putting their PDAF to non-existent NGOs. But DBM handles all of that money, right? And DBM is the one that actually gives them the list of approved entities who will be getting the funding. And then they just kind of decide which ones they will send it to.
It works the opposite, Maria.
What is it exactly? What happens?
Well, there is an allocation for PDAF. Before, the PDAF has been there for quite some time.
Yes.
But when we came in, you don't see all of it in the budget. So one of the first things that we did was to put an item there where you can see the totality of the PDAF allocation. Before, what was clearly in the budget allocated for PDAF was mostly the soft portion, the scholarships, medical assistance, but not the infrastructure component of PDAF. These were tucked in some other agencies like the PWH or DOTC. So the president said, in the interest of transparency, let's show everything.
Okay.
Secondly, before, the menu within which you can choose the projects to which you allocate the PDAF, they were worded rather generally, so that it left a lot of room for discretion, and because of that, I mean, once you have that, then you'll have problems. So what we did was we sat down with the legislator and said, no, we should have a very specific menu, types of project, implementing agencies, and types of recipients, and we should put that in the GAA too. Which you can see in the GAA. And then third, we said, real time, we have to be able to upload all of this in our website so that people can see. So once the budget is approved, the legislators submit a list for the amount that's allocated to them, 70 million every year, 35 for each semester.
Correct.
And then they submit to their respective committees on finance or appropriation, which vets the list to make sure that they fall within the menu that was approved, as well as they fall within the allocation that's allowed them. And then once that's vetting is done, it goes to DBM, and we also vet the list. And once clear, if there are lists that are not in the menu, we return. But once clear, then we issue the allotment release, which is the authority to obligate the
And that
projects.
goes directly to the recipient.
This is not money. This is just an authority to start a project or to obligate a project. And that goes to an implementing agency. For example, if it's a road network, it can go to DPWH. If it's medical services, it can go to a public hospital. If it's a scholarship, it goes to an SUC. And that's where that's where the implementation can begin. And the agency can either do the projects themselves, or they can download it through another agency, or through a local government unit, or maybe through an NGO. And that's where the problems have cropped up. It's in it's not so much in the budget release,
Yes.
but in the
Implementation.
project implementation.
I see. So are you going to be doing any kind of investigation into this?
Well, currently the president has tasked the Department of Justice and the National Bureau of Investigation to investigate
Yes.
all these allegations, and we're awaiting the results of that investigation, because that will also guide the kinds of reforms that we have already studied the problem, and we have some proposals, but we're awaiting that investigation so that it may actually add to what we have in mind. But the other agency that will be critically involved here is the Commission on Audit.
On audit,
Because
correct.
they have to undertake the post-audit of these projects, and I understand that there is a report that's forthcoming.
But right now, after the senator or the congressman signs off on that, there's no COA that actually checks to make sure it's done.
Because they just do post-audit. So once the project is implemented and everything else, the money is spent,
Yes.
then they come in and check whether, in fact, did the money go to the project, and was the road
I
built
see.
according to specifications? That's where they come in.
So
I guess part of the reform will have to include a mechanism for monitoring the implementation of the projects, and a process
correct.
a process of accrediting,
Station. Yeah.
accrediting, because I think there was no such accreditation in the past, because it was just recently where you have this sudden interest in downloading projects with NGOs. So we have to have a system of accrediting these NGOs to make sure that we're not dealing with fly-by-night NGOs, but with legitimate NGOs with track record. This is not a big community, so you would know the personalities who will be involved. So, and we're suggesting that an agency like the DSWD
Take the lead.
be tasked to do that, because it's, I think, among all the other agencies, it's the agency that really does a lot of interaction with NGOs.
Fantastic. I'll run to a completely different topic, which is coming up also, and this is from the questions from @Cannonball #312. Twitter, you gotta love Twitter. How are we preparing for the AEC 2015? That's the ASEAN Economic Community, and how has this been reflected in the national budget? Are we preparing for AEC 2015?
Yes, both the Department of Finance, NEDA, and the Department of Trade and Industry are working on that, making sure that we are competitive enough. We have the National Competitiveness Council that is really focused on issues like ease of doing business, promoting greater competitiveness, especially among the private sector and government services. So there is, of course, there is a lot of apprehension. We have not really exposed our economy to a lot of competition. So many of the conservative elements in the business sector are very apprehensive about this. But I think you can never be completely prepared for it. But
Yes.
Once the regime operates, to survive, you just have to gear up for that. And I think it's going to be difficult, but it's going to be good for the country in general.
In what sense? What are the upsides of this now that you can see? So this is by 2015.
Well, we have quite a number of industries that have not really fully developed, simply because of the protection that they have enjoyed all these years.
Yeah.
Shipping, sugar, and I think once the competition starts to come in, and they recognize that it's inevitably going to come in 2015, then it's really important to gear up for it. And for the longest time, we have not really been a trade-dependent economy, and I think that's the reason why, for the most part, we have been shielded from the vagaries of
the global economic ups and downs.
So that has really kept us from being affected. But as we're reviving manufacturing, we cannot forever isolate ourselves from that. So we have to face that reality. And eventually, many of the countries are rebalancing. Yes. So from very dependent on being highly dependent on exports to a more consumption-driven economy. In our case, we have to do the opposite. Move from too much dependence on consumption-led growth to the revival of manufacturing and eventually the ability to export. So we have been given some lead time to do that, and 2 years is not very long, but we have to maximize that period to be ready for 2015.
It's exciting and scary. No, I mean, if you look at this.
That's right. And as I said, we have been shielded for so long, and it's really high time to face up to the realities of the world. Yeah.
Your last thoughts. I mean, halfway through, you've set the priorities for the next years. You're the money man. So your thoughts are very important. What do you see coming up? What are the challenges that we need to address head on? You talked about it a little bit, but your last thoughts.
Well, we have a very solid macroeconomic fundamentals.
Yes.
And we are on track in our fiscal consolidation program, which are really key in being able to grow the economy faster and deal with the problem of poverty. And so far, I don't think that we have really, as the president said, assessed. No, we've not really hit the maximum of the potential of this country. There's really more to come for this country, and I'd like to assure our people that your government is certainly in good hands, and there is really more excitement to come by way of not just the growth of the economy, but in the process of being able to share that growth to as many people as possible, especially the poor. So, everything else will come around in terms of social as well as political stability because of these developments.
We're looking forward to hearing and seeing more. Thanks so much for coming. We've been speaking with Budget Secretary Butch Abad on the distribution of the government's budget, its priorities, and the next 3 years ahead. I'm Maria Ressa. Thank you for watching Talk Thursday.